Hey there everyone, Connor here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm that Scottish nerd, and for this week's video I'm going to be having a look at one of my personal favourite decks in the expanded format. And unfortunately, if you have seen the past couple of weeks, some bad news for the expanded format. We're once again getting more banned cards, and the biggest heavy hitter of them all, Shaymin EX, is leaving the expanded format after many years of great success in almost every deck that's successful, because it's pure draw power and its setup ability, allowing you to draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. This can be used by putting down multiple Shaymin in a turn and drawing multiple times, and with the addition of Scoop Up Net recently, we were able to spam Shaymin EX up to 8 times in a turn if we really wanted to with Skyfield. So for that reason they've decided to go ahead and ban it, but it's also what makes this deck, and you'll see here that I have 3 copies of it, because on our first turn of the game, if we go second, we can do some big damage going second and clear our board state. So having a look at the deck, we're focused on Mewtwo and Mew tag team, as its perfection ability allows us to copy any EX and GX attacks, which is really important in the expanded format, and it's a really fun deck to play. It may not be the best deck because there's a lot of counters such as safeguard Pokemon like Hoopa and Altaria, and also the Ultra Necrozma, which does 170 for one attachment. There's a couple, those are the main decks though that really shut us off, Garbodor as well, shutting off abilities, but we have some counters. But for the most part, we just don't really care about those matchups, and we take those as losses, because every other matchup that we come up against is going to be a good time for us. So quickly going through the deck here, our main attacker, or the main attack I should say, that we're going to be using is this Despair Ray from Mega Gardevoir. So it is dual typing, but it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that it costs 1 fairy, 1 colourless. So with the use of Dimension Valley here, we can actually reduce the cost of Mewtwo's using this attack by 1 colourless. So it actually ends up costing 1 fairy, and that allows us to attack on the first turn of the game if we go second, because remember, you can't attack on the first game, and you also can't play a supporter. So if we go second, we can draw a lot of cards, as you'll see in the games. But we are also doing a base of 110, and if we discard Pokemon, we're doing extra 10 for each of those that we discard, so we can hit up to 150 damage, assuming that we're discarding 4 Pokemon, and we usually want to have 1 on the bench as well, just in case we get knocked out. We don't want to instantly lose the game, so 150 damage is still pretty good. And since we're discarding Pokemon the first time we use this, we're going to be discarding the Shaymin that we put down. We also have other Pokemon to discard, such as Giratina with its Distortion Door ability. It allows us to reuse it every single turn from the discard pile and put 10 damage onto 2 of our opponent's Pokemon, and this will really allow us to build up a bunch of damage, and so when those Pokemon come into the active spot, we can hit them once and they'll be knocked out. And it's really good for little Pokemon as well, with 40, 60 HP, even 80 HP. We can build up a bunch of damage to take those out. Along with Pokemon to supplement the deck, we have a Tauros here, which has some great attacks such as Outrage and the Mad Bull GX. Those can really be powerful to get some quick knockouts if we build up damage on a Mewtwo, as well as this Alolan Ninetales, just for its sniping ability or attack, and its capabilities really to do 70 and then 30 to the bench for single energy, great for taking out little Pokemon. We have a copy of Jirachi as well as a Tapu Lele here, and these can search out a supporter. A card that I really like is this Solgaleo, because if we're against an opponent that tries to discard our energy in any way, we can just hit them for 120 damage, which is solid enough in itself, but also getting 2 energy back means that we can be quite liberal with discarding energy with Ultra Ball and Quick Ball. And also finally for Pokemon, we have this Necrozma GX for its GX attack, Black Ray. So against a lot of the random decks that you'll run into in Expanded, we can hit across the board for 100 damage on their Pokemon EX and GX. And the rest of the tools that we have, 4 Quick Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, Battle Compressors, Acrobikes, just a load of consistency, and mostly item cards though. because we want to be drawing through those as quickly as possible and being able to get into our Shaymins on the first turn, as I mentioned. We also have Lysander, Sycamore and N for our supporters because they are very important. We're always using Sycamore on our first turn if we're going second, and we also have a couple of Floatstone in here just for when we don't start Mewtwo, because we are playing 4 Mewtwo, but often we'll start something like a Giratina since we're playing 4 of those as well. And Floatstone is just a really nice card to find to move our dudes. But once you get into the perfect board stay, you'll only have Mewtwo in the active spot and a Mewtwo on your bench, and then you can keep clearing away Giratina turn after turn and piling up damage, hitting for 150 every single turn. It's a very fun deck, very powerful, and it doesn't need much setup really because you're drawing so much. So it'll be a very sad deck to see go once Shaymin is banned at the end of this month, but I would highly recommend you checking it out, trying it for yourself. So if you made it this far, stick around because I'm going to play a couple of games with this deck and hopefully you enjoy them. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoy it at any point, and be sure to subscribe down below to see future videos just like this one. Alright, so let's get into our first game here. Hopefully we get the chance to go second, as I said in the little introductory deck profile. Unfortunately our opponent is choosing and they choose that we go first. Most people will do this, but you know, it is unfortunate. So as I was mentioning in the deck profile, we do have a lot of good matchups because overall we can, you know, focus on just doing a consistent amount of damage and getting really consistent with our deck since we are drawing so many cards. Now this hand isn't ideal, but I think I'll go ahead and put down a Lily because at least then it's, you know, it's got 1 retreat cost. If we get Dimension Valley we can attack with it, do a lot of good things. Let's go ahead and start with an Acrobike here. Dimension Valley is kind of nice here, but if we get an attachment then we can put it onto Mewtwo, so I'm going to go with the Mewtwo. Stick that down, play a Quick Ball, go ahead and do a quick search of the deck just to see what Pokemon we have, and I'll take the Shaymin, say that's good, and we have a Sycamore and both of our Lysander are prized. That's going to make stuff kind of difficult, but should be fine. Honestly quite happy just getting rid of this Jirachi. We're going to be drawing so many cards with Shaymin, so it's not very necessary. Let's go ahead and grab Tauros, and then we can Ultra Ball. Yeah, Ultra Ball these guys. And we might as well leave ourselves with a 0 card hand. Seems fine. And use our first setup. See what we can get into. Another Shaymin's nice, that attachment I was talking about. I'm going to put down this Giratina because there's not really any reason not to, since it is going to give us another extra draw. And this hand's pretty underwhelming. Hopefully we can draw out of this. We'll pass it over to my opponent and see what they have. So they have the Reshiram Charizard tag team. They're obviously a Welder deck or a Kawaii deck, as we see here. And we once again don't have a lot going on. So I don't really want to go in with Mewtwo right now because they're going to hit me for 230, or they could potentially GX us. But we do have the Tauros, so if they hit for 230 we're fine. I feel like we could actually just use our Lele here. An Energy Drive. That seems like a good shout, get some damage in. And at least then the Mewtwo can come in and finish it off. So we'll Energy Drive here for 100. Makes it so that they only have 170 remaining. And the hold will be easier for us to knock out. They go for the welder. We're looking for that GX attack. Thankfully I didn't put up the Mewtwo, so we're safe for now. We are going to be losing 2 prizes here though. Alright, go for the Flare Strike for 230 damage. And let's see what we can pull off here. As soon as we put up Mewtwo, they're going to kill us, which is rather irritating, but I don't have a lot of choices. So let's see what our top deck is. A Quick Ball, that's nice. I'm going to put down this Mewtwo. Quick Ball away Scaleo, and grab ourselves another Shaymin. Hopefully we can get some good off of these 3 cards. Alright, we got Sycamore, so we can go ahead and Ultra Ball away the rest of these Pokemon to get ourselves another Pokemon. They have Volcanion and probably have other stuff, so we'll grab the Necrozma. Probably won't be able to use it this game, but it's nice to at least have in the discard pile. And we also find a Battle Compressor, so we can thin out the rest of these Giratina. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Get rid of this compressor because we don't really need it at this point. And also want to get an energy this turn. We don't want to be missing an attachment, so I'm going to computer search for it. Just going to discard the Ninetales and Trainer's Mail, go get our energy. And then we can go in with the Spare Ray, because that's all that's doing the most damage. There we go, discard our 4 bench and hit for 150. So while they are going to get a knockout, we can also get the return knockout, and then they don't have a whole lot going on unless they welder or blacksmith or something. Really annoying that we've prized both for Lysander, otherwise we'd be able to Lysander this Reshizard and then we could snipe it with Giratina, hit whatever's in the active. So prizing Lysanders is really a big deal here. If we hit energy, we could actually Black Ray GX to knock out for 3 prizes, set up 100 on other stuff. That's looking pretty nice, along with the Shaymin that they had to play down. We could Giratina ping the Shaymin, take 5 prizes in 1 turn. That's one of the main reasons that I love Black Ray GX. And we see our opponent is using Welder onto the bench, which is a good idea. Set up another attacker. They also play down the Heat Factory, so we get an opportunity to use this Dimension Valley. Also might as well play down the Float Stone since I have it. The only thing I would be worried about with Black Ray is them using Outrage, but they're not actually doing enough with Outrage, so that shouldn't be a problem. Grab this Acrobike, hopefully we can draw into an energy, which we do. Go ahead and attach that. Let's have a look for N. Unfortunately we don't have N in discard, so I'm just going to have to Sycamore here. Would have loved to put them down to 1 card remaining, but it's not to be, unfortunately. We do find our other Mewtwo. So this is where we get down our Giratina and we get into the swing of things. Just going to put 1 on the Shaymin so that we can knock it out. And then we're going to put 1 on this Volcanion. And let's go in to get our other Giratinas. And we can put 1 on the bench Reshizard and Jirachi. That way we're going to be able to take out the Jirachi the following turn with Giratina. So keep piling up damage on those 2. There's our 4th Giratina. And then let's have a look for Black Ray. 100 damage onto Forges, 400 damage in one turn, and we're able to take 5 prizes, instantly catching up with our opponent, going down to 1 prize. We get the surprised face from our opponent. They have no idea what just hit them. We go ahead and draw an energy and a Lysander. So if my opponent's not able to knock us out this turn, then we have game. Fortunately, they do play the Pokemon EX, so they could get enough damage off of this. They're currently hitting for... they got the Welders, and they do the 300 damage. Unfortunate. That is unfortunate, but you'll see there that the amazing power of Giratina and Blackfree GX really came into its own, picking up 5 prizes. Let's get into the next game. Alrighty, so let's get into our second game here. My opponent has a dragon deck box. That might not mean anything, but it could potentially be a dragon deck. If it is that pesky Ultra Necrozma deck I was mentioning earlier, that could be very annoying, but I have won a few games against it, and you really just have to get the right draws going and hope that they brick a little bit, but it is possible, you know. We have the Field Blower in here just to combat Garbodor a little bit. Alright, so my opponent is flipped over and they have a Mew and an Inkay. It's very interesting. It's not a dragon deck, which is nice, and our hand is looking very good at least. So it can be off to a good start. I'm probably going to make use of this computer search, might as well before we Sycamore. Really just have to decide what it is that I want to get off this. Could actually just, we could just ditch the energy, we don't need it right now, although we do get a second energy, which is cool. So I'm going to Acrobite first, no reason not to, and we get a Quick Ball, which is excellent. We shall Quick Ball away an energy. Can't use both this turn, so grab yourselves a Mewtwo. We have our Shaymins, Giratinas, Solgaleo's there. Let's see what supporters we've got. Got most of them. We have Lysander at least this game. So we'll grab our Mewtwo, go ahead and bench and attach to it. We would really love to attack here, so I'm actually going to computer search for the Floatstone, because Dimension Valley, we have 4 of those, and we have Trainer Mails and Shaymin to draw into those. So we'll go long, get our Floatstone, and we'll go ahead and draw 7. Nice, this is looking good. We're going to Battle Compressor first here. Go ahead, get rid of a Mega Gardevoir, a Solgaleo and a Giratina, that seems fine. Acrobite, get a Shaymin. I really want to make use of Shaymin here, so I'm going to keep it. And let's go ahead and ditch Giratina. This kind of sucks, but I'll grab Giratina just to play it out. And we can bench the Shaymin, draw 3. We're just looking for Dimension Valley, and we found it. So we only have 2 Giratina in here, unfortunately, which is just out of range of this Inkay. If we had one more, then we could have won this turn, but that's fine, no big deal. Still gonna go ahead and snipe, put some extra damage on the board. Then we can go into here and Despair Ray. I don't actually think my opponent's going to knock me out this turn if they're going into an Inkay, so I'm going to get rid of my whole board. And they're going to need a lot set up to try and combat this. So they're forced to promote the Inkay. They could go into Malamar, but that's going to increase the retreat cost. We see a Bridget from our opponent. They're going to choose 3 Pokemon to put onto their bench. It's going to be interesting to see what they have. Keeping in mind we also pulled the Lysander, so depending on what they pull, we could use that to our advantage. Looks like 2 Necrozma, as well as a Tapu Lele for some reason. So I'd definitely love to Lysander up one of these if they don't retreat. That way we can use Giratina to take out that Inkay at some point. We are going to see the Dawnwings Necrozma come into the active with a Life Dew. That's not going to do much good for my opponent, as I actually have Field Blower in hand, so we can immediately get rid of that, as well as the Floatstone that they put on that Inkay. But the Floatstone isn't actually that relevant, since, as I said, we're going to be knocking out that Inkay pretty quickly. We see the Instruct on a Ringaroo from my opponent, and just a pass. So that's what you love to see. We can Battle Compressor, discard Giratina's, Shaymin as what we love to see, but don't actually have a way to get it right now. Considering the Jirachi, but don't want to get rid of that because we could be hit for weakness. Just going to play out this Battle Compressor. We don't need to get rid of all that much. I'm going to get rid of an Ultra Ball, I think, and that's pretty much it. Go ahead, use our Field Blower. Might as well get rid of this Floatstone just in case. And here comes the Giratina army. Going to put it on the Inkay, and then we'll do the other Necrozma. That's their most likely attacker. Not quite decided if we want to keep this Lysander around, but I'm thinking we're not going to need it right now, so I'm probably just going to use N on my opponent. It is increasing their hand size, but I would also like to get down another Mewtwo. So I'm going to go ahead and use N and look at getting that other Mewtwo on our board, just so that we're not leaving ourselves vulnerable at all. So pile up a bunch of damage here, take out the Inkay, take a prize, and we get Mewtwo. Nice one. So don't actually need to use Lysander now. We could actually just attach active and Black Ray. Kinda like that, it gets the most value. So yeah, let's go with that. And Lysander's kinda useless since my opponent can just, use Invasion, and that'll put the Necrozma in the active anyway. So I'm going to end here just to see some fresh cards. And then we can go in with the Black Ray GX, I think. I'm going to spread across 300 damage, 100 on each of their GX Pokemon. And this just sets us up nicely for a quicker win, quicker end game. Our opponent doesn't even have any energy on the board yet. So next turn we can just Despair Ray, knock out the active, or whatever it is that they put into the active, and take it from there. We see an Ultra Space from our opponent. They're getting the Ultra Necrozma. Yes, that's their main attacker that they would want to use, but since they don't have any Inkay down, it's going to be difficult to even get Malamar onto the board. So against Malamar deck, you do want to be using Despair Ray in combination with Giratina's Distortion Door as much as possible. But since we have the opportunity here to take a turn, Black Ray, then you're going to want to use those opportunities as much as possible, because getting down one Inkay is not going to be that big of a deal since we already took care of it. My opponent at least does get an energy now onto their board. They're going to Mysterious Treasure, get a Malamar. Interesting. Maybe they've prized a few Inkay. Not sure what's going on there. Why wouldn't they not just get an Inkay? They've got Lysander. They're bringing up my other Mewtwo. That is problematic as I don't actually have a way to move it now, and I don't have a way to draw any cards. So I'm going to Ultra Space just to search the deck. I believe we do have Floatstone in here still with energy. We also have Sycamore and N. So we're going to want to go ahead and Quick Ball here to search out something. We're going to take this Tapu Lily since we have the option of either. And we could put down a Dimension Valley. May also help them though at some point. You never know. Also don't want our stadiums to get bumped if we're not going to be using them, so I'd rather just keep it in hand. We'll go ahead and pass, see what my opponent has, and hopefully we can draw out of this. Maybe it is backfiring that we Black Rayed too early. We could have got 100 onto their Ultra Necrozma, and we also could have, you know, kept our board free. Another reason why I love Despair Ray, because your board state or your bench is always going to be free for the most part after you're using it, so you can easily put down a Shaymin or a Lily if you keep one spare in your deck. That way late game you can always use it to get out a Lysander or any card that you need. If it is like a Shaymin, then you can draw it up and get those essential cards to close out a game. So we have cocked ourselves a little bit there, but that's fine. We can pull this one out of the bag. Come on guys. Our opponent's not going to do anything soon, surely. We do see a Cynthia from them after a whole bunch of max elixirs. So I guess their Malamar is most likely just a supplementary thing, and they're mainly focused on max elixirs and potentially Beast Ring. We haven't seen any yet, but they could be playing Beast Ring. They also have the Mew, so I guess they're usually using the Mew to attack with. And they hit for 260 damage, not even enough to knock out. So we have another chance here. We draw the energy, so we could actually just use Rage on Tauros if he's in here. No, Tauros is prized. Of course. So we could Sky Return, which is another option, as I mentioned before. So I'm just thinking, do we want to Sky Return, or do we want to keep hitting these guys? I think Despair Ray is probably the best option, because we want to clear our board state and just get these Giratina off the bench. So I'm going to go ahead and Despair Ray. And doing this damage here is going to allow us to finish it off later with Giratina anyway, so it's not going to be making that much of a big deal. Only takes 4 Giratina pings or distortion doors, so we can put 4 onto this Necrozma and 4 onto the benched Dormwings Necrozma, and that'll knock both out, and that'll win us the game. So as I said in the deck profile, it is a very versatile deck this, because you do have a lot of options on how to attack, and with finishing Pokemon off like this, you can really just hit them once and then finish them off with Distortion Door, and then hit something else again for big damage. It's really about being versatile and, you know, picking your shots. Drawing cards as well. I'm going to be so sad to see Shaymin banned. Let me know what cards you're going to be sad to see go and what decks you're going to have to take apart thanks to Shaymin EX going. I've seen a lot of fast raid decks in the ladder as well on Expanded, although this is my favourite to grind the ladder, and you should definitely be trying it out. I'm going to have to try and put in some Dedenne GX or Crobat or something in here to supplement it. I mean, sure, they're good cards and they work just as well, but it's just not going to be the same when you're not able to draw that amount of cards all at once. So we see here from my opponent, they went with the Heal GX, or is this Tapu Cure? I've not seen that used for so long. Tapu Cure GX healed fully both of my opponent's benched Pokemon, so we're now going to have to chase down the benched Necrozma instead, and that's totally fine. My opponent also did use Lysander for some reason, so I have a lesser damaged or no damaged Mewtwo in my active, which is nice. Very nice of them to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and ping the same two benched dudes. I want those guys out of here as quickly as possible, and since I know that Ultra Necrozma is their main attacker, I'm going to be focusing on that. So we'll get our Giratina pings. Not going to bother with this supporter just yet, I want to keep it in hand. And we will go ahead and Despair Ray. Get rid of all these. They do need a lot of energy. I could actually get rid of my damaged Mewtwo, which is another way you can protect against them taking knockouts. I do quite like the look of that, so we're going to go with that. Also means that they can't use Ultra Necrozma's GX attack now, since they had to use Tapu Cure. There is the Tauros as well, so if they do hit us for a bunch of damage, at least we have Tauros. See a Sycamore from our opponent. Guessing they're looking for some more energy. They had used up a bunch of max ults earlier, so it's going to be interesting to see how many they actually hit at this late stage in the game. We only need to pick up one more prize card. We know we have Lysander in deck as well, so keeping this Tapu Lele around was really an ideal call. We just have to Giratina ping, or we can Lysander up this bench Necrozma, dominate Necrozma, and they're just hitting us for 180, so that's the game all locked up. We can just play down this Lele. Go ahead, take Lysander, and yeah, this has 140. We can hit it for 120 or Despair Ray, anything. So I'll go ahead, hit it for 120, and that's the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile and battles. If you do, be sure to subscribe, as we'll have more expanded videos coming soon. So I really love the expanded format, and there's a lot of potential for creativity. So if you guys love grinding the ladder on Pokemon trading card game online, and you want to get these packs and earn some nice tokens to buy your own packs in the shop, then be sure to jump on the expanded format here and play some fun decks, especially this Mew and Mewtwo tag team with Giratina and whatever other attackers you can come up with. So yeah, I've been that Scottish Nerd. I'll see you guys in the next video.